Yes, I know my hair looks fucking insane. COVID haircuts don't fucking exist anymore, dude. Anyway, let me uh let me answer a question that I got asked on stream recently. And is what do I generally think about tier lists in fighting games whenever people give their opinion on tier lists, what do I think it means, etc. And generally speaking, and I'm gonna give a couple of games for of an example, right? Generally speaking, I think when someone gives their tier list of a game, it has no value besides the fact that when you both enjoy a hobby, you want to talk about the hobby, right? But generally speaking, it has no value to most people besides that. And why do I say that? Because one, let's remember, most people are never going to be actually competitive at the game in the first place to that extent. And what's more, a lot of these people that are talking about how the game is played competitively probably have no idea what the hell they're fucking talking about anyway, right? And I say that because, of course, again, I use the example as me. I didn't know that I was good at video games when I first got into video games, right? And then boom, 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 started beating all these people. I saw all these people that were talking about a game like the game works like this, the game works like that. You know what I mean? They were talking. They were the bark. The bark was louder than the bite, so to speak, right? And then you're like, oh wow, they're not even good at the game, right? So you got to remember, first of all, there's two different sides. First of all, most people are not even good at games in the first place. And then, second of all, most people can't even talk about a game intelligently. It's very rare to meet someone who is both good at a game and someone who can talk about a video game. To be able to do both is very rare. Like sometimes you might be able to, maybe sometimes you'll meet someone who's like, oh, that person can actually talk about a video game, but maybe they suck at the game, but they actually can talk about it, right? Or maybe you'll meet someone like, oh, maybe they're good at the game, but man, this he's an idiot, right? Very rare to meet someone who can do both, right? So that's why I say most of these tier lists, when you see people talking about tier lists, it's really just two people coming together to discuss a hobby that they both enjoy. That is the value in it, right? And then, of course, you even think if there's value because most people are not even going to be good enough at a game that the tier list matters in the first place, right? But then you also get into the idea of what is the rules of the tier list? What is the prerequisites, whatever you want to call it, right? What is the tier list based off of? What is the rules of how we're making this ideology of it, right? Because there could be different things. Of course, there could be like a tier list, versus this character versus this character. It could be kind of just a generalized kind of thing, right? Like, I'll use an example of a game like Karnav's Revenge, right? I know I've talked about this, I've written about this, but I haven't talked about this on YouTube besides on live streams, right? An example of Karnav's Revenge might be for a why it context is key, right? And why tier lists can be kind of weird, right? So we have a game like Karna's Revenge, right? There's two sides to how Karna's Revenge as a video game is played, right? There is a very kind of scrub a dub, deceptively skilled, but a very kind of scrub a dub, very powerful, basic moves in Karna's Revenge can be extremely powerful. Basic ideas of what a fighting game can be. And so what I mean by that is like take a character like Ray. So basic, just a fireball, just a DP, right? But those basic fundamentals of his character are so powerful in the context of the game. He is extremely powerful, right? Because even in general, just in general, Karna's Revenge, a lot of basic shit is very, very powerful, right? So that's one side of Karna's Revenge, like very, and then let's say take an idea of there's an idea of the game, a more scrub a dub, what I've talked about before, a flipping a coin. Sometimes there's characters that do good off a guess, right? So then there's another aspect of Karna's Revenge. There's an idea of some characters kill you off a guess very easily, right? The game can be very volatile, right? So we can take a character like Mizuguchi, who, if we look at a basic fundamental idea of Karna's Revenge in terms of how powerful fireballs and DPs are, Mizuguchi is a absolutely terrible character, okay? He's a terrible character in the context of the game in this idea because he has the worst fireball in the game. He does not overpower you with simple fundamentals, right? But what Mizuguchi is good at in Karna's Revenge is he is good at the scrub-a-dub coin flip nature of the game potentially, right? Because his moves hit so many times, he might be able to beat you off of a guess, right? So then let's look at the game on an even deeper level, right? If we were to look at the game, say a character like Zazzy, one of the most scrub-a-dub characters ever created in a fighting game, right? Zazzy is also a character that excels off that scrub-a-dub, kills you off of a guess so easily, right? So then you might say, Clayton, though, why is Zazzy such a extremely powerful character in Karna's Revenge? Why does Zazzy beat Mizuguchi and all this kind of stuff if they are both, from a certain perspective, good at the coin flip, scrub-a-dub nature of the game in that sense? Because in that sense, Zazzy has the gun to your head when you have to flip the coin. Mizuguchi in Karna's Revenge never has a gun to your head when you're flipping the coin. Did you get what I'm saying? But when you're fighting Zazzy, every time you flip the coin, Zazzy has the gun to your head while you're flipping the coin. There's a gun to your head every time you flip a coin against Zazzy. Okay? That's a perspective that you have to be able to appreciate if you're thinking about a game like Karna's Revenge. And again, that's why there's so many different like potential rules. Like, what are we talking about? Are we talking about a game like, oh, this character versus this character? Is it purely, characters that are good versus this character, etc.? Is it a generalized kind of tier list? What is like the ideology of why we're going into this tier list? How are we thinking about this game, right? Even a game, some games are... A game like Super Turbo is funny because people talk a lot about tiers in Super Turbo, right? And, I don't respect a lot of people for their ideas in Super Turbo because, man, look at people in Super Turbo, dude. You'll always hear how, dude, it's gotten even worse since when I was a kid, dude. Like, I remember when I was a kid, you'd grow up and, you'd hear, oh, man, Ryu beats Honda 7-3, right? It might be 6.5. Some people might write 7-3, right? And then, as I've gotten older, you see people write absolutely ridiculous shit like, oh, Ryu versus Honda, it's 8-2, maybe 9-1, some people think. And I'm like, 8-2? 9? Well, like, are you, and this is actual people that are even supposedly and maybe legitimately good at the game will write this kind of shit like 8-2? And I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, dude. I've seen some of these people that say, oh, it's 8-2. It's just he can't win. Does anyone remember some of these people, the Japanese and all these tournaments, they kind of destroyed some of these people. I'm not trying to throw them under the bus, I'm saying better than these people. Not necessarily. I'm just saying, calling it like it is, right? It's calling a spade. It's what happened. You watch Japanese tournaments, man, dude, for an 8-2 matchup, why do Japanese Hondas regularly wreck Ryu for an 8-2 matchup? Because in the context of the game is so volatile. And you have a certain combination of people always want to maybe brag or over hype something or make it seem more extreme than it is, right? You know what I mean? Like, oh, we got to make it seem more exciting if a Honda player wins. So we got to say it's 8-2, blah, blah. We got to make it seem more than it is, right? Let's not talk about how volatile the game is. It's like, well, what are the rules of this tier list, right? Because we can watch the game as played. It's not an 8-2 match. You know what I mean? So there's so many different ideas when you get into tier lists and what is like, how are you coming at the perspective of the game, right? And at the end of the day, a lot of it is really just, like I said, it's just really two people coming together to discuss a hobby they like because most people are never going to be competitive at a game that it's ever going to matter. I mean, of course, there's going to be counter characters that are, you see that even on a more basic level, but hopefully you get what I'm saying at. Most of these people can't talk about a game intelligently. Most of these people aren't good at a game in the first place, dude. And God, I mean, I could use an example. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus because, a person messaged me today on stream. Like, what do you think about all these Dragon Ball FighterZ tier lists that are coming out recently? What do you think about it? Well, of course, I don't play Dragon Ball FighterZ competitively, so it doesn't matter to me. I don't have any competitive ego in the game. But I can tell you as someone who obviously understands video games, I've casually watched what some people think about the game, who I would assume are much better than me. I would assume they would destroy me. And I can tell you, just listening to these people talk about a video game, I have no respect for them. What the fuck they were saying. I was listening to this one dude. I don't want to throw anyone under the bus per se, dude. I was listening to this guy talk about why this one character is bad. And I'm like, dude, I suck at this game, and I'm sure this guy would beat me, but I can tell this guy can't talk about a video game intelligently. This really just sounds like a guy complaining about something, right? Do you know what I mean? It's like this guy, I don't see any. This really has no value. When I was watching this guy talk about the game, again, I'm sure he would beat me. I'm not trying to talk shit, but I could see that this guy, like talking about a video game, there was no value to what he was saying because it was so obviously actually false. Even on my not playing the game level, I was like, dude, I can tell this guy is not very intelligent about a video game. And this really is just for people. Sometimes you want to talk about a similar interest or a hobby that you both enjoy, because that's like what a low level of intelligence it was, to be honest with you. Anyway, that's what I think about tier lists in general, right? Remember to like the videos, comment on the video, subscribe. It supports the channel, whatever, PayPal, Patreon, whatever the fuck it is, dude, right? I appreciate it. The end. Where am I?